Hello and welcome to this episode of Transparent Table Talk. We're here with the Burke County Sheriff's Office. I'm your host, Sheriff Alfonso Williams, and I'm joined by a few of my colleagues from the command staff. We're going to talk to you today about our budget. There's been a lot of talk about the Sheriff's Office budget and what we do with it, how we spend it. We want to show you today how we're accountable with the money that we have, with your tax dollars, our tax dollars, and we want to give you an introspective view of what that money is spent on. Our budget is roughly $10.8 million, and it goes pretty quickly. A lot of the line items we have no control over, so I have my team here with me today to help you understand and give you a bird's eye view of what's really happening. This transparent table talk that we're doing here at the Sheriff's Office is to allow the community to come into the Sheriff's Office. We're part of the community is a part of us. We are the police are us. And so here we are to give you this view. Our budget is $10.8 million. Let me give you a quick overview of where that money goes. Right off the rip, $7 million of that $10.8 million goes to salaries for the Sheriff's Office, Detention Center, court services personnel, which is categorized in a separate budget, and school police. Our school police are sheriff's deputies. The school reimburses us 100% of what it costs the county for those services. But that's $7 million of our $10 million budget. School police, court services personnel, sheriff's office personnel, and detention center personnel. Another $1 million goes directly to Blue Cross Blue Shield. That's our insurance. So there we're at $8 million. $8 million of our $10 million budget goes to salaries and insurance. Another $1.2 million, which brings us up to $9 million of our $10.8 million budget, goes to workers' compensation, retirement, Medicare, life insurance, and dental insurance. So you're at just over $9 million of that $10.8 million is all in salaries, insurance, life insurance, dental insurance, workers' compensation, retirement, and Medicare before we get to any services at all. Another $160,000 goes to water, electricity, and gas to run our offices. $160,000. $240,000 goes to inmate food, and that's it, just our inmate food contract. $375,000 goes to gasoline for our patrol cars. $100,000 is a matching grant from the COPS grant that we get, money we get from the federal government, where after several years, we have to do matching funds. That's $100,000. Another $60,000 is for vehicle parts to repair our cars. $100,000 of that is the Governor's Office of Highway Safety. You've seen the vehicles riding around with GOHS on them, or Governor's Office of Highway Safety. That's $100,000 in matching funds for that. And then $140,000 goes to uniforms and supplies that we need for the office. As you can see, at the end of the day, $10.8 million, very little of that money does the sheriff have much control over in terms of what we do.
Just in the last year, we've seen inflation on many of the items that we purchase that could average as much as 40%. And it's nothing that we were buying 2 or 3 years ago is the same price as what we're paying today. If you can even get those items, sometimes it takes a lot of time to order them and get them in. Vehicles in particular is something that has gone up tremendously. We were, several years ago, most of our fleet was based on automobiles, and we saw very early on that pickup trucks, especially in the rural areas that we have to go all the time, pickup trucks seem to be a more viable option, and believe it or not, the pickup trucks are cheaper than the patrol vehicles that we were using previously. Even in the bid process, the patrol vehicles are more expensive than the pickup trucks, and the pickup trucks we can use them out in the county to respond to a number of different circumstances. In the course of buying these vehicles, of course, they have to be outfitted for law enforcement, and there is a cost that is associated with that. But at the end of the day, by the time we put 200,000 miles on a vehicle, we found that our patrol vehicles, our cars, were ready to be scrapped, had virtually no value, where pickup trucks maintain a certain amount of equity, and so we have some value in that we can pass along back to the county or however we decide to end of life for that vehicle. I think there's been some talk about our spare vehicles. We've had a number of people who have asked about our spare vehicles. That is something that has actually made us money. I mean, when we're paying a person to be on duty to patrol this county, and we might have a deer wreck, you might have malfunction in the vehicle that causes it to go for repairs. It just makes sense to have a spare vehicle, or otherwise that vehicle or that person would be sitting at a desk while we're waiting to repair a vehicle. So that is the purpose of us having spare vehicles, and that has worked extremely well. We can keep a person out in the county and keep them moving and responding to calls. Another situation that has been asked about is what we commonly refer to as hot seating cars. I don't know of anybody, and I have checked extensively, I don't know of any municipality or county government that would still utilize that practice. There again, if you're hot seating a car and that car has a repair issue, then you not only put two people at a desk, you're waiting for that car to be repaired for those people to get back out on the road. And I think the most important thing is to keep our deputies moving and responding to calls. And, when you add inflation into that, it makes the job of trying to stay within budget almost impossible.
Look, the number of personnel that we have, we've got 140 employees. We have not gone over that. There's been some talk about whether we have increased personnel or we've hired some civilian personnel at a time when we need deputies, but we need those civilians to support the deputies. We don't have deputies sitting in offices. Their office is the patrol car, and that patrol car is different than what it was 40 years ago. That is his or her office. That's where his or her equipment is. And follow the budget process, come to the commission meetings, really get into this and see where your tax dollars are going, see what the sheriff's office needs. We have a lot of needs, not wants. There's not a bunch of frills in the sheriff's office, but we're doing all we can to keep this community safe. I have a constitutional obligation to ensure the safety of our community, and we're going to do it. And we're not going to do law enforcement badly. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. And if the concern is not over safety, but over what safety costs, then you understand.
And everything that I have studied and got with our budget analysis Austin with, we're about $2.50 or more starting pay-wise for a brand new deputy out of the academy compared to any other agency. So when it comes down to recruitment and retention, we've looked at a variety of ways to try to increase that. By looking at the budget, we've looked at personnel that we have upcoming personnel that are retiring, and we're trying to factor in that to where we can get our deputies extra money, extra help at home. Because a lot of, they look at different agencies and they'll see somewhere is offering a hiring bonus of $3,000 plus they're going to make another $2 and something an hour. So then we spend our time on training, and we don't want to lose deputies. We want to retain these deputies. We spend a lot of time, efforts, monies on their training, and we like to keep them here and keeping within the community they've been working and the people that they know. We talk about increase on percentages for inflation. So not only do you think about here departmental wise inflation, like we have tasers that we need. So obviously 5 years ago when we got tasers, they're definitely going to be at a different price compared to now. And we also talk about salaries. Think about the inflation of these deputies that are having to pay their bills. They're having to pay their rent. They're having to pay for things, their children, if they're single mothers, single fathers, whatever it may be. So we're trying to do our best that we can do to also help not only the community but our employees too, because they're all our family. And so that's some of our goals that we're trying to do there. We've also did the studies for educational and night shift differential, and we realized that night shift differential will be one of the harder things to accomplish because it would almost need to be paid for in a stipend type of thing, because if somebody switches from nights to days, it's harder to take away a percentage. But educational is something that we should definitely look at, because people have taken their time to get their education to better themselves in the career, and we should be able to help them, and we should be able to offer some type of incentive, which would in turn retain people and also help us with hiring. So that's a lot of things that we're working towards.
You know, when you talk about outfitting these deputies and you spend around $2,000 to outfit one, and then the neighbor up the street offers them another $2 an hour to go to work and they leave you, that's $2,000 that you got sitting around in uniforms and equipment until you can hire somebody else. Then you hire the next person, they're not the same size. You got to go back and reinvest, maybe not $2,000 because you got some of the equipment they can use, but you can't reuse the uniforms until you find somebody that exact size. And then gasoline's gone up. I mean, over the course of the last 2 years, it fluctuates anywhere from $2 an hour to $3.50 a gallon. You just can't budget for that, and you can't budget for the inmate medical costs. I mean, you're liable to spend $50,000 at one point, 1 year, and then you're liable to spend $200,000 the next year. And this is just taking them back and forth to the hospital. It don't count for the inmate medical that you have here on staff. That contract went from $230,000 to $650,000 overnight due to a judge's order, and we have here a copy of the judge's order. I mean, so you can't budget for that, but we're being held to that budget. We're having to shuffle money around out of our budget to cover those costs. Last week, the last commission meeting, we had to make a budget transfer of $220,000 to get the inmate medical contract up to date. We had to move it out of the salaries line item. Was that fair to the sheriff's office? No, but that's what we were made to do.
Thank you, Austin. You brought up some very good points. I also want to talk about one of the biggest issues that we've had is that we had our capacity here at the Burke County Sheriff's Office Detention Center. The jail is some 37 years old. It is probably the oldest jail within a 13-county area. I've done a study. I've submitted that study to the Burke County Board of Commissioners showing that our detention center is older than any detention center within 13 counties. They've all either built new facilities or added on to their existing facilities. And so we are in desperate need of a facility as well. We had a capacity of 128 persons, and we did that for the last 6 years I've been in office, but it comes at a price, and that price is professional fatigue, officers calling in sick, inmate behavior was out of control. So when you hear the county manager or other people say they have looked at other counties' budgets compared to Burke County's budget, look at the services you're getting. Do you feel safe? Do you trust us, and do you trust our product? You got to take those things into consideration and not just look at bare numbers, because the numbers may or may not tell the full story. Transparent table talk here with the Burke County Sheriff's Office. We'll start to wrap it up, and I'll just kind of go around the room and allow each person to finish up and give an assessment of what they think is most important for you to know. We've gotten together, and what I think is we're presenting a reasonable budget and our needs that we need
our amount of employees that we talked about that we need, our salaries. We're looking at all that, and when we present it, this is what our agency needs to keep the community safe and to help employees, to help everybody, business owners. This is what we're doing. We sit down daily. I think we've been doing this for weeks now, haven't we, Austin? Like sitting around looking at numbers, making sure we got what's adequate, making sure we got coverage, so those response times continue to be, if not better, or most definitely the same. We would always like it to be better and better and better. So that's what we're working towards. We've got a lot of goals. We want the community to stay safe. So we're working hard each and every day to make sure that we have what we need, make sure our deputies and everybody have the right equipment to keep them safe, to keep the community safe, and to make sure that everybody's livelihood is good here within the agency. Anything else you can think of, Lee?
If you don't feel safer than you did the day that we walked in the door, first would be surprised, but secondly, we would like to know, what are you based that on? Because our goal, our number one goal when we come to work every day is to provide safety for this county. I can't say that enough, and I'll pass it on to Austin.
Now, what it used to cost $25,000 to buy a patrol unit now costs $38,000. So by the time you buy two, you're missing one. And so over a few years, it don't take you long to get in a hole with your fleet, and that's where we are now. So if you could get with us, with the commission, and help us be able to get more vehicles, we'd certainly appreciate it. We also looking to buy tasers for our deputies. The ones we have now are no longer certified. We need to get those new ones in, and so if you could help us with that, we'd greatly appreciate it.
Transparent Table Talk here with the Burke County Sheriff's Office. Austin, you just reminded me, we have put the commission on notice that the tasers we bought 6 years ago when we got here are all out of date. Now, are they still operational? Of course they are. But there's no longer insurance coverage if somebody dies after being tased with one of them, because the company won't support you after 5 years. So while you may hear from the county manager's office that the tasers still work, it's a matter of insurance and liability if something happens. We have put them on notice. We have put them on notice in writing. They know that our vehicles are aging, and so we've got to be responsive there. Look, in 6 years, we've brought in over $6 million worth of grants. So we have solicited the state and the federal government to help shoulder the burden of the costs of doing business here in Burke County by applying for those grants. We will continue to do that. We have a bulletproof vest grant that we get from the federal government. We have a body camera grant that we use. The governor's highway safety to help reduce crashes with injuries and fatalities we've done. Our violent crime is reduced. We just got $100,000 from the Bureau of Justice Administration for a crime analyst to help reduce violent crime in our community. We're doing a ton to bring in grant funding to help offset costs for the citizens of Burke County. We need you to know that you can trust us. You can trust our product. You know what we're about. We have a 6-year history. I'll say this, and this is the last thing. We really need you to get involved. We need you to call your county commissioners and employ them to force the county manager's office to sit down with us and come up with a reasonable budget that we can all stay within. In 6 years, we have never been able to sit down with them across the table and speak amicably about a reasonable budget to run this sheriff's office. We've got to get it done. We need your help to get it done. Transparent Table Talk here with the Burke County Sheriff's Office. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening, and we bid you Godspeed.